we're there. We're on. So thank you and welcome everybody. We have, I needed to invite this amazing woman, Lola Donahue. Let me just introduce her properly. I've known you for 10 years now, met you through Arthur Murray in Chicago, Chicagoland. Yeah, that's right. And yes. And we sat across from each other many a time, Lola, over cocktails, discussing our personal development and in all areas from, relationships, professional, personal, spiritual, you name it. And some really deep dives. And the reason I wanted to have this conversation with you was because of your recent social media presence. And you have been courageously posting some provocative, imaginative, and even inspirational photos. And seeing you through the months of these photos, how you've been shrinking, basically. You've been shrinking. And I said, who is this woman? What's going on? And normally we see each other regularly every year. And with the pandemic, that didn't happen. So I had to call you to find out what's going on. And then, wow, I was blown away by the entire story. And I said, let's do this. Let's share it with some people. And you were more than open to do this because of the pictures really represented a part of you that was this unapologetic confidence that was so heartfelt that I said more women need to hear your story, hear what you went through, because if we can all open up to that more so, this sensual expression in whatever way, how do we tap into that regularly? That's what I'm all about. So there you are, and here we are. So let's dive in. And the first thing, so welcome, Lola. Sorry. I don't hear you. I do not hear you. Wait, I don't hear you. I heard you a second ago, but not now. Let's make sure that we hear your voice nice and loud. And for anybody on Facebook land, if along the way you guys have some questions or that you may want to ask her, please post it on this, and I'll be checking with everybody. And yeah, keep talking there, Lola, just to make sure we hear you. I do not hear you. No. Welcome to Shay Lola with I think I heard something. I think I heard something. We just want to make sure that everybody else stays on mute so that we can at least hear our conversation.
What about now?
Ah, there you are. Woo-hoo. Okay, so
sorry about that.
No worries. Let's get right to it. So Lola, we're going to set the stage. When we started our conversation last week about everything that was going on, the biggest moment where things sort of went into this chaos was when you decide to leave Chicago, go to St. Louis, your hometown, to open up your own Arthur Murray studio, take a big risk. You leave this safe, secure place that you love, but life leads you to St. Louis. And take it from there, because that moment, those years, there was a lot going on, which I think led up to where you are now. So can you start sharing some of that with everybody?
Yes, of course. So I left Chicago in July 18th of 2017 or 18, I think. Yes, 18, sorry. I left my lovely, amazing, yummy, delicious, secure dream gig with Madam Jill DeMarlo, as we all know. Hey, Jill. Yes. So, the Mecca that is Chicago land, Arthur Murray, was my beautiful home. And I decided to leave that and drove away from Chicago, which is something I never thought I would do. So when I left Missouri 16 years ago, my family said I would never come home. And I was dead set on that. So I had decided I'm never coming back. And then I did all the things I said I would never do all at one time, including leave the cush secure job. I moved back to St. Louis. We moved back to St. Louis to open. And I knew for sure everything was not going to be easy. And as you know, Patty, this law of attraction, or as we call the evolution of waking up, had been something I had been studying, since Arthur Murray. But my life seriously took a dive for the worst after I moved. And it was way worse than I anticipated. I actually tried not to have expectations and
Okay.
just kind of let it come to me. And it was still even more brutal than I anticipated. So everything that could have fallen apart pre-pandemic fell apart. Um, and we got the studio basically up and running more or less the week before the pandemic hit. So I had my own team for the first time. I took them to Chicago. We had a dream of a weekend. We were all excited. I had 20 new clients booked that first week in March. And then we got home Sunday night and we had to cancel all of them. So I did the human thing and I melted down to the ground because I was so mad that after all this time and not wanting to take big risks and being terrified, that I finally take a big risk like a big girl and literally get the studio open, which was brutal in itself. And then literally to open right before the pandemic, I just was done. I just gave up everything,
Oh,
which surrender is key, as you know. But it was awful. It was the worst time in my life, easily. But everybody's going through that thing. That's the other thing. It's everyone's worst time in a way. So it was terrible, but I have an amazing family, luckily. And, you know, they're saving us. And, you know, so even on the worst day, it's not terrible. But for me, I left that amazing thing and now everything fell apart. So those were dark days.
yes. And I mean, first of all, you're quite a few people living in this house with your parents, right? Like you were a lot of people. Plus, there was more than just the pandemic. Like the pandemic was the sort of the straw that broke the camel's back. But even leading up to that, finally, you know, there was a spark of hope with the TOC, the meeting that you said came to. But you were also quite a few people living in a house together. So it's not like you had a lot of, I want to really frame this because you didn't have a lot of personal space, like zero, from my understanding. Like you were, talk to us a little bit about even at home, like there was a lot going on, not in a bad way, but you were just had very little personal space and you were dealing with many things besides your professional life, trying to put that together.
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, my parents luckily took us in, as great parents do. But during the pandemic, so we have a beautiful house, thankfully. But it was Mark and I in the basement, my parents in the middle layer, and then my youngest brother and his girlfriend in upstairs. And you know, we have 6 dogs. My brother has a dog, and then we were taking care of my other brother's 2 dogs. So it was a zoo, literally. And everyone was trapped in the house, and we're a very loud family. It was just complete chaos. I mean, which again can be on days that when people are very lonely, I feel very grateful for that. But some days I was just like, this is insane. I mean, I couldn't even, you know, and again, that's part of the beauty, right? You can escape in your life and be numb and be fine with it because you are running from one project to the other.
Mm.
And when the bottom fell out, you know, there was literally a day, Patty, where like I walked outside and I had this awareness of there's nowhere I can go. I
Mm.
have all of these issues. My life is completely fallen apart. And luckily I had enough training mentally that it softened a lot of that. But even for me, having all this training and whatever we call that, it was very bad. It was very bad. So, you know, we were trapped there. I mean, I was doing laps in the yard, just like trying to self-talk myself
Mm.
and just literally asking God, whatever that is, the universe, whatever tag people put on it to not turn them off, the higher power, you know, I'm just like, I'm out of options here because this is crazy and this is everything I thought, you know? So
Yeah. So when you're
it just was done.
going
Yeah.
doing these right, when you're doing these laps, was there a moment that you kind of said, how did you get out of chaos? And I'm wondering because was it just over time and doing these laps that you finally just hit yourself in the head and say, I got to do something. I got to actually walk the talk. I got to practice what I know to be true. Or was there a specific moment that kind of really woke you up? Just curious about that.
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, the fun thing about, again, this journey, um, it comes in, or at least for me, I will never speak for anybody else. So I know now that words do not teach. Life experience teaches. So I can't sit here and tell anyone to do anything specifically. All I can do is say what I did and show you the incredible evidence. And then you have to decide if it's something you want to try. So I don't know if there was a day. I think it was just that. It was, thank God, I was trapped. And so I didn't have anything else that could distract me. And so that was the first time I had time to literally sit and try to meditate. So meditating for me, my whole life was this, interesting, like I thought it was this weird, I don't know, whatever you call that. I thought this weird thing. And so I never really tried it. And then during the pandemic, I literally didn't have anything else to do. So I sat out in the front yard from March 11th. I mean, it was snowing. Sometimes I'd put on my coat and I would take my lawn chair outside and I would lay in the yard and I would listen to these meditations. I would listen to, anything that made me feel good. And I made that kind of my, I don't know, I just got really excited about it. And like we talked before, once you grasp something, you only need a spark of that moment. And once you have a spark about something, it will be over. You'll be addicted to it and then it just keeps going. So that's kind of what happened to me. I laid there until something happened. And then once this little thing happened, which I will share with you, that then kicked off a series of these incredible things that are happening. So
before you share that little thing, how long, because this is the thing, it's like learning any new skill, like when that spark happened, how long was it before it actually happened? Like how many hours later or how many days?
I know, because because everybody watching is literally going, and I bet Jill too, if I do this in 10 minutes, will I be done? Love you, Jill. So for the Jill DeMarlos out there that want to get to the end, I can't tell you. So I can't tell you that because again, it's just, it's been so consistent. Okay. Probably 3 weeks. If I have to give you an answer on this specific thing, I had been doing a lot of the prep work up to this point, but it was about 3 weeks of consistent meditating when I had the first thing. So I don't want to tell anybody it's going to happen in 3 weeks because I had been doing 10 years of other research and stuff. But honestly, as you know, some people, because they're open-minded, sit down one time and have this magical experience. I'm more closed-minded than that in my life. So it took me a lot longer than that.
And you shared that you would meditate for not just a few minutes, like you did this for a few hours.
Yeah, I got psycho. Yeah. Yeah. So
you
well, you know me, I go all in, right?
Yeah.
If I get excited, it's like it's over. Yeah, so I did that, but only because it was so delicious and I was excited. So, people also get this impression that meditating has to be this, 5 hour, and that's what I thought too, which is so fun about this journey is because I'm living all the things that I proved to myself all the things that I didn't believe, basically. So for me, meditating, I thought had to be this 5 hour process, and it's not like that at all. But during the pandemic, when exciting, crazy, mystical things started happening to me, I got so addicted. I would lay out there for 5 hours and I would just listen to something else. I mean, I got addicted.
So you were doing mostly guided meditation, or did you
Mm-hmm.
sometimes ask questions, or no? It was mixture.
Yeah, I'm kind of a mix. Like I'm not that great yet with just strict meditating, meaning, laying and listening to just what's going on around you. I'm not there yet. So I listen to guided meditations. I find that works best for me.
Okay, cool. So here you are going through guided meditations, and then an inspiration or a spark happens. And this is what sort of really catapulted you to another level, which ultimately affected also your body, right? Like this is where there was a big transformation in your weight loss. So can you
Yeah.
talk about that moment?
Yeah, definitely. So I had been, like I said, laying out there listening. And also to be clear, meditating is very different for everyone. So I wasn't seeing anything. I wasn't having these, you'll read and see people have these mystical experiences right away. I didn't have any of that. So I just laid there and tried not to, I just laid there and just listened. And then one day in June, I got a vision of a symbol. And it was so crazy and awesome. And then I did the human thing, which is I saw it and then I explained it away right away. I was like, well, there's no way that was what it is, and tried to explain it away. And then I thought, what are you doing? Like, it's the pandemic. Your life is not working. Like, you are 100 pounds overweight. Let's get real. And you're sexy still. Don't get me wrong, but you're 100 pounds overweight. Everything hurts in your body. You're sad all the time. What do you have to lose by dropping one thought, like one belief system? Just pick one belief system and drop it for one day and see what happens. And so that's what I did. And that day, that's the day that the symbol came in. And I immediately tried to explain it away. And then I went back to that old way is not working for you. So what happens if you believe that? Don't even try to analyze it, but maybe there is something to all this. And so I just allowed myself to feel that and laugh about it. And then a week went by, and I, because in this time I wasn't even going like physically to the studio, just because it was too scary. I mean, in Missouri, like we were just at home. So the first day I had been.
Oops. Lola, you're frozen. Let me just let you know that, Lola. The wonderful, this is what happens with technology. If the Wi-Fi is a little off there. Hopefully she got my text because she's frozen just when she's about to divulge the moment. Oh, goodness. Hold on tight, everyone. She should come back. We'll be here. Oh, she got knocked off, so I think she'll come back. The experiences. Anybody, by the way, while we're still here, anyone experienced, oh, I think she's back. There you are. Meditation. Yeah, so you're going to have to, we don't hear you. So you're going to have to unmute yourself there, Lola.
Hello.
Okay,
hello.
You're back.
I mean, Patty, it would not be a Lola interview if the technology did not work. So you want it authentic. Here it is.
Here it is.
My stuff never works.
Just before you were about to tell us what the thing is, boom.
Hey, that's a cliffhanger, baby, right there. That's my Arthur Murray training. Book an appointment and I'll tell you the rest of the story.
So tell us.
Okay. So I went to the studio, I walk in, and a beautiful teacher that I hired earlier before the pandemic. We had maybe had 4 trainings together, but I knew there was something special about her and we were becoming closer. And I walked in that day to the studio and she had on a short sleeve shirt for the first time. I hadn't seen her arms up to this point, which is kind of funny. And she had that tattoo on her arm. And I looked at her
because we didn't hear you. If you talk the symbol that you're about to share with us.
Okay. Yeah. So I meditated. I saw a symbol. And then a week later, I walk in and one of my teachers, whose arms I have never seen to this point because it was very new, had that symbol tattooed on her arm. And I said, girl, what's that tattoo on your arm? I have to know that. And it opened up a beautiful conversation about energy. And so we recognized, Patty, as you know, immediately that we were soul sisters and we are co-creators, and we have since found that out this year together. So when I saw that symbol on her arm, we immediately took a deep dive, and this year it honestly just started from there. So I feel like that was the universe hearing me, that I was ready for whatever change. And immediately after that, it started getting insane.
So this symbol that you're about to share with us, is that, when did the weight loss start happening? Was it from that point on?
It was not. So the weight, so the symbol happened in June. About July or August, so after the symbol, I got more excited, which led to more meditating and more unplugging. So now I know, for me, the secret is literally unplugging your brain. Like, you have to think of your body as a computer. And the problem is we never take the time to pull the cord out of the wall ever. And that's what meditating is getting you to do. So after that symbol, I knew I was onto something, and I started to feel, and we've had this conversation. Part of my past trauma has led me to realize that I am a happy person. I always have been, but I haven't really felt or allowed myself to feel true emotions for a very long time. And that was probably the hardest revelation as a woman that I've ever lived through. So the summer was about finding the symbol, seeing the symbol, taking the deep dive. And then I started to realize, like, you don't even know yourself. You think you know yourself, but you actually don't know yourself. And you don't know how to feel true feelings. And that was really hard. And so I laid in the pool. Thank gosh that my parents have a pool. So I laid in the pool like a teenager all summer and literally kept meditating. And, at this time I started talking to Robert, who is Amy's student. And I got to adopt him, thankfully. So Robert passed last year. And so, through the meditating in the pool, Patty, it was crazy. So here's the first concrete example. So the symbol happened to sort of wake me up a little more. And then here's the moment. I said, okay, Robert, because also up to this point, I've always been a mystical being. So even as a kid, I loved like ghost stories and mystical things. And I would find these weird books at the library. So I was always into that sort of realm. So it was very easy for me to explore these things. And I had a I had a life-changing experience years ago. I lost someone I loved to suicide, and I didn't know about it because we weren't speaking at the time. And the first time I heard that inner voice, like that voice that is not yours, that smacks you in the face, I heard that. And what that voice said to me 10 years ago was, Google him. So Google this person that I dated that I loved. And I thought, okay, what is this voice? And why am I Googling this person? This makes no sense. Okay. And I didn't even question it, but I did it. And I found his obituary. So I did not know that that had happened. And so that really was the start of, there's so much more to life. This cannot be it. What is it? And so I'd already started on that spiritual path after that moment. So by the time I get here to Robert, I know for me that I'm a spirit being in a human body that is here on earth to learn lessons. I believe everything is energy. I believe that if you're quiet enough, you can tap into that energy. And again, those things are crazy to say out loud. And part of the journey this summer was abandoning what everybody thought and just saying, you know what, you've always kind of believed that. Why don't you take time to explore it? So I did. And I got in the pool that day and I said, okay, Robert, let's have some fun. If you're really here with me and you're guiding me, I would like $10,000 in my business account by August 31st, because I would like to pay some payroll and train some teachers. So if you can make that happen, that would be amazing. And I laughed at myself for even saying that. And I laid on the raft. And 10 minutes later, I get a text from Amy Novotny, my other bestie in Chicago. And she says, hey, we hadn't been talking because I moved and she's very busy running her studio. And she says, hey, this is so random. And I already, Patty, I'm like, random. Okay. Robert's lawyer is going to be calling you. He left you a little something. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. And I stared at that text message, and that was the first time, and it's happening now, I got full body goosebumps, like in a way that I couldn't ignore. And I just started crying. And we laughed because I said, well, that could be literally anything. That could be a CD. It could be a CD collection. Like, Robert, it could be anything. So I tried not to think about it, but I did recognize be coincidence. There are no coincidences, by the way. If you believe in coincidences, you are selling yourself short. So I got a kick out of that, and I got really excited. And I just kept talking to him, and I kept saying, show me more, show me more. And that same night, I get a call. Basically, Robert has left me a little bit of money to buy my dream car, which was a 2000 and whatever 12 Saturn Sky convertible. You know, a used car, but it's this tiny convertible. My first car was a Saturn, and I've always loved this damn convertible. So when I was going to move back to St. Louis, I said, I want that car. I haven't had a car in 20 years. I want a car. And so it was always this kind of funny, haha. And so that was one of the manifestations. Laying in the pool, I said, I would like 10 grand in my business account, and I want to drive this car. And Amy texts me, and 2 weeks later, I find the car in Indiana. And this, by the way, everyone told me, you will not find a black Saturn Sky convertible with tan two-tone interior. It does not exist. That'll have 200,000 miles on it. And I said, I will, because I will create it. And 2 weeks later, and I wish I had time to pull up all the pictures. I was going to have all photographic evidence, but I drove away 2 weeks later with that car. And I had $20,000 in my bank account by September 1st.
Wow.
So after that, Patty, those were the two manifestations that I knew, because previously in my life, I knew that if I thought positive, I usually get what I want. And that would work sometimes, and sometimes it wouldn't. But this time I knew that it was different, because I figured out how to consciously create with energy. And it showed up to me so fast. And again, I can say all these words, and there are still people that will say, well, that's a coincidence. And you can think that, and that's totally fine. What's so amazing about this journey is when something like that happens to you and you physically feel the things in your body, no one will take that away from you. And so after that, I just immediately recognized that, oh my gosh, all these things that I've thought this whole time are real. They're real and they're true. And it was just waiting for me to be open, because it's just energy. And so the car came, the money came, and can I keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. So I still did the human thing. So even as I was driving to buy this car, I'm saying, this can't be real. This can't be real. It just can't be real. Robert, could you show me one more time that this is you? And I laughed. And so I drove across Indiana. This is a 3-hour drive. No one knew I was going, because I wanted to test drive it and see. So I'm driving across Indiana, this 2-lane terrible highway. And I'm literally like just delighting in joy about Robert and just this story. And like, look what we've done for a career. We get to open up people's eyes to dancing. And I meet people like Robert that changed my life. So I'm just totally joyously driving. And I say, and I ask for another sign. I say, I just want another sign that it's you. And as I'm driving, I look over, and you know those huge swarms of birds that you see, like as you're driving, that change and shift. I saw a cloud like that, and I laughed, and I said, okay, if that's you, I was like, if those were some butterflies, because we'll circle back, but the butterflies had started to show up then. I said, if those were butterflies, because they were far away, if those were butterflies, I would know it's you. And in fact, I would wreck this car, because I would be so freaked out. And I laughed, and I kept driving, and I literally get up close. And right as I look up, it is a cloud of monarch butterflies. Hundreds of them. And I had that full body feeling, to the point where I almost drove my mom's car off the road. Sorry, Mom. And was literally so freaked out, like wanting to grab my phone to take a picture. And then I thought, what are you doing? There's not enough evidence. If someone doesn't want to believe, this does not matter, right? So that was the moment I decided I'm not going to care what anyone thinks, because I know what I'm feeling and I know what I'm seeing. And when I saw those butterflies and I turned around literally to try to find and see, they weren't there. And I cried and I cried and I kept driving and I was 10 minutes away. And I said, and I'm screaming in the car and I'm saying, it's you. I know it's you. I know it's you. I know it's you. This is just too much. I know it's you. And I'm talking. My phone rings and it's my mother, because my mother does not know I'm sneaking away to try to buy this car. So my mother calls me because she had to take my beater 2000 Hyundai station wagon that I've been driving in Missouri for 3 years, full of dogs. She took that car to work that day so I could drive her car to Indiana for 3 hours. So she calls me right as I am getting off the highway and she says, I got some bad news. And I laughed because there's no bad news ever. There's just not. And so I laughed and I said, what's the bad news? Well, totally ripped the front end off of your station wagon 5 minutes ago. So.
Okay. You're back. You a little.
Okay. Yep. I saw it and now I'm getting it. So the car was wrecked. The whole front end was ripped off of the car and my car was parked. The car was not being driven. So as I'm pulling off of the highway to secretly buy my dream car, my beater crappy car has been totaled in the same 10 minutes. And I got that full body thing again. And I laughed to my mom and I said, well, I guess it's a good thing that I'm 10 minutes away from buying this convertible. And she said, what are you talking about? And I told her the story. And she's like, this is crazy, because my family thinks I'm insane, which is fine. And I said, I know, it's nuts. And so I went and I drove it and I loved it and I bought it. And then 3 weeks later, when we drove to go get it, I drove back and not even kidding, every 10 minutes, monarch butterflies flew directly at my windshield. And it was insane. And I had that feeling the whole way home.
Whoa. Okay, so this was the symbol. The monarch butterfly was the original symbol that you saw that initiated all of this. What does this mean? And then your staff member has the tattoo on her arms of this. Is there a significance to a monarch butterfly that we should know about, by the way?
No, so actually, so going back, the symbol I saw on her arm is a symbol for an energy form. It's like a triangle. So if you look up Merkaba or Kundalini energy, it's that symbol. So that's the symbol I saw first. Then in the summer, I'm at the studio one day talking to a friend of mine, and we're speaking of Robert in the studio. Because when people come to the studio, Robert's everywhere, his photos, and everyone loves the story. So we're speaking of him. And this woman who I barely know at the time says, my mom speaks to me in butterflies. And I said, why'd you just say that? And she goes, I don't know. I'm not sure. And we laughed. And so I continued to speak on Robert. And as we're speaking, a huge monarch butterfly. So we're not even facing the door, but this butterfly flies in from the side to the door, almost like, hi. Like, it was so blatant that we both looked over, and it was right after she said, my mom speaks to me in butterflies. And we look over and I'm like, what did you? And she's like, ugh.
You're frozen again. Wait, you got to do that again, because that frozen face of yours was...
Don't worry. This one?
Yeah.
It never freezes when you look hot. It's always like, great.
Gosh. Okay.
Yeah,
so
we're back now.
We're back. So you're getting a lot of proof right now, or, synchronicities, proof that these things that you're thinking about are showing up and there's evidence and you're learning to trust it, basically. So my understanding is every time something shows up, the ego, the conscious mind, whatever you want to call it, is telling you this is crazy, it's stupid, doesn't make sense. But with each time you sort of say, I'm having that human experience, it's time to move out of it. Just trust, just believe and trust. You've been on this journey for 10 years. It's time I start trusting the little signs. And then at one point you just give into it completely, where now it's the only thing you look for. Now you're asking for it, basically.
Yes. I'm like, bring it, bring it, bring it. And so now, are you ready for the big one?
Okay, go.
Here's the big one. Okay, so besides Robert, are you there? Am I frozen?
You're good.
Okay. Besides Robert, my other spirit guy that I love deeply, his name is David. And so he sends me signs as well. And so they're my dream team up there. And so after the car and after all the stuff, and now I'm like, holy cow, I'm in the zone now. Now I get it. And now it's exciting. And so I said, okay, David, I would like a hot ballroom dancer guy, because I have this incredible family of staff. I hate that word. I have this incredible family that like to teach at the studio, and there's 10 of us, and I was missing that, highly certified hot dude. And so I thought, okay, spirit team, like this is legit now. So I'm ordering up one hot male dancer.
There it is again. Hot male dancer, not a stripper, hot male dancer. Because you're frozen again with your mouth open. I'm just saying. There you are. We should have talked about making sure that you were connected to a good Wi-Fi. You're still frozen, Lola. And there we are. I would ask if people are how people are doing and resonating. You can comment or on the side there if you want to type it in. If there's other people that are kind of feeling the same thing that she is, in the sense of having some alignments or some serendipitous moments or manifesting style moments. I know I've had glimpses of it, but then I know personally I've done that sort of thing of just kind of letting it pass. Yeah, it's great timing, or whatever you're thinking about, your awareness starts to pay attention to that, and I just leave it aside as it is what it is. And it's amazing to see how she took it a whole lot further, and believes that to a whole other level, is trying to take this to a whole other level. So let's see if she's going to come back and join us. There you are. You don't have to unmute yourself while I
Yep. Hi.
so they stop hearing my story of nothing and you
No,
can
I
jump
like
right
it.
in.
Sorry, guys. The price of being in Missouri with internet. Yeah, so hot male dancer, meaning not stripper, but I wanted a that ballroom guy that had a lot of experience but wasn't a jerk. And because I've been around a lot of those, and I don't want to create that in my business. I don't want that attitude. And I know what I'm asking for. That's a weird ask, right? Because typically you don't find highly attractive, loving, open, incredible men that have been dancing for 20 years. But I know I can create whatever I want. So that's what I asked for. And 10 minutes later, I also have photographic text proof. My cousin Stacy texted me, and she said, "Hey, cuz, haven't talked to you in a bit. Kind of weird. Have a neighbor that has a brother. He's looking for studio opportunities." And I said, of course he is. And I laughed and I said, give him my phone number. And we we connected. And his name is David. He has the same last initial as my spirit, David. So right away, when I look him up on Facebook, I see that I've asked my David for a specific person, and not only has he shown up, but his name is David. And still, Patty, I did the human thing. Like, I still did the human thing when I said, I still get that. And I go, that's still not good enough. Keep going, which is such a bummer, but that's how we're trained. So I said, keep going. So I find him on Facebook, and the only picture I can see of him is him with someone in front of an RV with like 13 dogs. And me, I have 6 dogs. We have 6 dogs. And so when I saw that, again, full body chills, I just knew that this was real. But again, because I don't know him, I'm not going to like put all my expectations and dreams and hopes into this person. So I kept it cool, and I just laughed and enjoyed the sign, and I just said, keep going, show me more, show me more. So for 3 months he would come in and he would train, and I would get to know him, and I could feel that he was a great person. And so each training we'd have, I would have this little glimmer in my eye about, this is seriously unfolding, this is exactly what I asked for, and yet I'd still try to explain it away. So we're in October, the weight loss now. So now with all this momentum, my grandma had passed in the pandemic, and she was my stage mom growing up. And she was also the person who unintentionally was very destructive about my weight, because she loved me so much and she saw this potential, but she didn't know how to express it. And so her way of showing me that was saying, you need to be skinny. You need to be skinny. You need to have long hair. You know, this is how you're going to be famous. She wanted to be famous at all costs. So we have a huge falling out. I finally recognize it's too unhealthy for me to continue this relationship. So, 15 or 12 years ago, I stopped talking to her, and we, lose touch, even though she literally lives across the street from where I live. So I could see her physically sitting outside for 2 years during the pandemic. And I just couldn't bring myself to go heal it. And I knew to like pay attention to my feelings now. And there was just something blocking me from walking across the street. And she passed away in April. And not only did she pass, but I saw the ambulance down the street, and I walk, and they have just put her into the ambulance. And I said, can I see her? I need to see her. And they said, no, do you have a mask? And I'm like, I'm outside. It's midnight. I'm outside. I don't have a mask. And they're like, you can't. And so I didn't even physically, I was 5 seconds away. So standing at the bottom of the hillside, watching that happen, knowing now my spirituality, and I was waiting to feel something, and I didn't. And when I didn't, it destroyed me. And I went back, I kind of shelled up. And so now in October, right now, the momentum's coming through. There was just a meditation I did in October. I got up one morning at 4 a.m., which I never do. I'm not that person. I love to sleep till noon and eat like crap. But I kept getting up at 4 a.m. and I got up at 4, and I, did this weird meditation, and I just knew my weight was going. Again, it sounds insane, but I get it now. And I woke up, it was like October 2nd. And I woke up and I just knew it was going to go. And it has gone. And again, can't explain that to you, but I just knew. And now I'm watching it happen. And,
Well, you had shared with me also that, I mean, part of the journey of the weight loss connected to all this was that your meditation also was a means of healing trauma in your life. And through that healing, that meditation and healing the trauma, your weight loss came off. It's almost like the connection between what had happened to you and your emotions and your heart, and you not tapping into that, was all being held in your weight. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. So before, I'm going to jump into that, but before I do, let me give you the last key to that.
Oh,
Because
there's more.
There's one more. I know. And actually, Patty, I'm giving you 5 stories. This happens to be daily now. I can't even keep up with it. So, but this was the moment when I fully, after I kept saying, show me one more, I got okay, there's no going back. And here's what it is. So ballroom dancer David has now been in the studio for 3 months in a pandemic. He's incredible. I call him my unicorn. He is a unicorn. He meditates. He's in tune, just like we are. He loves people. He's an empath, which I have found out that's what I am. So October comes around, and without even thinking about it, one day we're texting, and I say, hey, if we can figure out the money, because there is none, but if we can figure that out, would you consider staying at the studio? Because I think you're delightful. And he said, yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. So we have, we meet up, we set those things. I come home, I'm overjoyed. I'm just like, holy cow, this is crazy. I pull out my prayer card of David and I shatter, like in a beautiful way, but I'm looking at it and I realize that the day I interviewed our David, my ballroom dancer David, the day of his first interview was Spirit David's birthday. And the day I hired him was the day that David passed away.
Wow.
And when I had that revelation, it would just, again, it doesn't even matter. I just knew. I was like, okay. And here it is. And that's when I knew about the weight right after that. I'm like, this is real. No one will ever tell me. And now it's going to be fun. And so a day later, literally, I woke up, I did a meditation. And I'm like, that weight is going to go. It's going. So the weight came on because I was sexually molested by my paternal grandfather when I was younger. When I was 7, that was my first physical awareness of it happening. So, I would stay the night at their house and he bought me a horse. And so I grew up riding horses and we would do that together. And I stayed the night one night and, one night in the middle of the night, I wake up and he's there. And I don't know how graphic you want me to get. I love to share because pain, that's the only way. I just don't want to offend anybody. But is that okay?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trusting you with this, so.
Yeah. So, I say it's nothing terrible, but so I'm staying the night and I'm like half asleep. And I even remember the t-shirt I had on. It was my mom's t-shirt and it was a pink t-shirt and it said mom on it, which now I'm like, oh. And he puts his hands under my shirt, like both of them. And at first I thought, well, he's my grandpa. He's like probably going to put me to bed. But then even at 7, and Patty, you know this now, like when you lock into your purpose and you start feeling these things, like now I know, even when I was little, I knew stuff that I shouldn't know. Like I had these awarenesses because I am an empath. So the second I knew it wasn't, the second I knew it was sexual, I had this awareness that I knew it wasn't about me. In pain. I didn't know why he was taking it out on me. But I knew immediately it wasn't me fully. So his hands went up my shirt and I thought, oh God. And so I pretended to be asleep. And then I thought, okay, he did that. Hopefully that's good enough. Maybe he just got his fix. And so I pretended to be sleeping. And then he put his hands down my pants. And then I thought, oh God. And I'm 7. So here's the other thing that people need to know. I don't have my own babies. I have a beautiful stepdaughter. Kids feel a lot of stuff, man. When I'm a kid, there was stuff I just knew like adults. And when you have an empath for a kid, like my family's always, this is the buzzword is you're too sensitive. My whole life. And that's a joke to, with people, but it destroyed me and it made me cover up a lot of stuff. And the reason I'm sensitive is because I am an empath, which means I physically feel other people's pain. And what's interesting about that, Patty, is I didn't realize that until this year. And so that's where the weight was. I take on people's physical pain. And because I couldn't express at all ever, it just sat in my body and it was pain. And again, I can't speak for anybody else, but that's what mine was. So at 7, the hands go down the pants. I'm like, oh boy, this is a problem. I wake up the next day. We're sitting at the kitchen table and it was so weird. I'm 7, but I knew. And he looked at me and he said, are you okay? Is something wrong? And I knew he was manipulating me. And I said, no, just want to go home. So I went home and I thought, do I tell or do I not tell? If I tell, we know what's going to happen. If I don't, and literally I didn't I was like, I can't do it. So I didn't say anything. And then when I was 14, he took me to Florida on a vacation And it was just the two of us driving down. So imagine 3 days in the car in a Volkswagen VW Bug with no air conditioning, because he's going to take me on a vacation because I'm the special one, right? And the whole way down, it's mind games. It's, your parents owe me everything, right? I helped your parents, and you have to understand, Patty, you met my parents. They're salt of the earth people. They don't take anything from anybody. And in fact, we never even had a babysitter, I don't think, except for one time. So I knew, again, I'm like, this is manipulation. And then we got closer to Key West and he said, do you want alcohol? You can do whatever you want with me. And I'm 14 at this time. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, he's grooming me. He's grooming me. And I'm walking into this, but I don't know how to get out of it. And I also know it's not that he's a bad person. There's just pain. I couldn't wrap my head around it. So we get down there. We're down there 2 days. I meet some friends at the hot tub. I'm like, okay, this isn't bad. We go back to the, place we were staying. And then he says, he guilts me, as they all do. I drove you for 3 days to Florida. Can you rub my legs? Because I drove in this car. And Patty, I knew it was going down. I was like, it's going down. And what are you going to say? No, because I knew if I said no, he would know that I knew the past stuff. So I didn't want to let that out of the bag. And I just thought, okay, be calm, float above it, because there's way more here going on than you get. And so as soon as he went to take his underwear off, I grabbed my bags, I ran out, and we were in like a vacation community. I hid in the bushes, and I got on a payphone and I called my parents in Missouri. And remember, my parents don't fly at this point. Nobody travels. I'm the adventurous one. So here I am in Key West. My parents don't want me to travel. Now I'm sitting in the bushes at 14 in a tiny t-shirt and some underwear with a bag. And I'm like, this is what you get for dreaming big. That's exactly what I thought. Oh. And I'm on a payphone, and I call my parents, and I don't remember this, but my mom says, when she picked up the phone, I said, Mama, which I never say. And I would never say to my mom, because you met my mom. She's a tough ass. You don't call her Mama. So apparently she knew, as moms do. So cops were called. The cops show up. He's riding a bike around the community looking for me. And I knew I just felt like, I don't know this because I'm not in his head, but I felt like if he caught me, I would have probably ended up, I don't want to say he would have murdered me, but I don't know what would have happened. So I just was like, please don't let him find me. So the cops came, I flew home, and then, all the other stuff came out. So that's the trauma. And that's what I've been having to process.
Oh my God. Wow. That is big. And I'm so sorry that is, I can't even imagine at that age going through all that and alone. And thank God your parents were who they were and your mom was who she was, to be able to kind of give you the strength to step out of that. Like,
yeah,
unbelievable. So you've been carrying this now from all these years, and it's hence back to this whole, all of this trauma is being held in your body, and you just want to make yourself, I mean, from as ugly as possible. I say ugly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
it's just
yeah. Well, here, so Patty, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. I just feel like
go.
What I found out, because you and I've had this discussion. I mean, like 6 years ago, you're like, oh, when you found that out, remember, you said, oh, well, that explain. And I'd always heard that. I'd always heard, weight is protection, or you're trying to shrink. But I'm like, I don't get that. That didn't resonate with me, because I love life. And even when that was happening, I had an awareness that there was something bigger. I just, there was a part to play, thankfully. So I had always heard the weight stuff, but I didn't get it. And now scientifically, I understand it. So now it makes perfect sense to me. My body was in fight or flight the entire time. So when you're external, the inside of you doesn't know what's going on. So internally, after the trauma, my brain was frozen, basically. So my neural pathways were totally shut down for protection. And then throughout my life after that, I created these situations without knowing it, where I was bullied. So I was bullied through my entire school process. So elementary, junior high, and high school, bullied for clothes. When we were poor, we had no money, so I bought clothes at Walmart. So I was bullied for that, bullied for being poor. So all the bullying, the trauma kept going. And then I, go out into the world. I moved to Chicago. I go to art school, and then I'm trying to audition, and that's all insecurity and people telling you what's wrong with you. And then I go to Arthur Murray, which for all its magic is also destructive, because there is an element of, you can dance if you're skinny, right? So I then, like, it's like each time I tried to peek my head out to dream, something would happen and smash me back down. So now I'm at Arthur Murray, and I'm trying to get the weight under control. And I really want to dance because I feel like I have something. And I do my, first 2 competitions knowing I don't look like everybody. And the first feedback I get is, well, yeah, you look good, but if you want to do this, you got to be you got to be skinny. And here's the thing. They're not wrong. That's not a wrong statement. There is an element to, and you know this, if you're going to do that, that's not wrong what was being said. What's tough is the way it's said, and also you don't know where someone is about that. So each time I poked my head out to try to dream, a statement like that would just shut me back down. And that's what happened. And it would happen every time. So even in Arthur Murray, I would repeat these cycles over and over again.
Well, like, to your point, I think part of it is, having been a competitor for many years, you know that you can't go, you're an athlete. So part of the competitive life is you have to look a certain way, in order to win, in order to do well. And I think it is a delicate dance where you don't want it to affect you to the point that you never feel you're enough unless you're this perfect body and this perfect shape. But I also do feel Arthur Murray is probably the one place where you can be of different shapes and sizes, where the community encourages you to say, I get that it's the competition. If you're going to go the competitive route, be careful that this is part of it. And then the other thing of saying, but don't forget, you're here to embrace the journey of dancing and how your soul sings when you dance. Because I know, as a judge, where I'm also often put in a position to make comments, it's like a bittersweet. I want to tell you how to make it better, but I don't want to destroy you. I want you to still keep going and keep trying and keep working towards, becoming this butterfly and finding your soul's expression. So
Mm-hmm.
on
Mm-hmm.
that side, I also think sometimes that, I wasn't able to find that, as someone who came from an independent, and I'm only sharing that more to say, because I came from an independent place, and the difference between that versus the Arthur Murray, we understand that there's a duality within both of that. And perhaps, like in everywhere in life, there's people that don't always have the nicest way of expressing that. But I
Well,
do think,
well,
yeah, go ahead.
no, that's true. That's true. And honestly, like we just said, they were not wrong. The truth
Mm,
is, if I wanted to do that, I needed to change that. That's a fact. And that doesn't make anybody bad. It just means that's a facet of Arthur Murray that at that time I didn't want bad enough, because if I did, I needed to change something. And that onus was on me.
mm,
I decide how I took that comment. That comment did not have to shut me down into, oh, give up. But see, that's my past programming kicking in. The difference is now I see that and I get it. So again, it's no one's fault, but seriously mine. It's how you take it. And it's understanding your trauma, and understanding I had to learn that about myself.
yeah. And the tr- I'll take something like, even this whole pandemic situation for me, that has I've been fortunate to still be able to travel and work, but it has affected me quite a bit, and I've had my moments. Back to when stuff happens, the growth is how you react to it, and every time I think I'm in a react, I get this and I'm going to react properly, there's a trigger, that's something that will just send me off. Like, I become this freaking, and I realize, geez, I guess I haven't quite mastered this whole, you don't have to accept things as they are, but have a way of expressing it in a manner of saying, I graciously unaccept this, versus,
Yeah.
getting,
Yeah.
all, yeah. So here you are
Yep.
now, having lost all this weight, and And where is the, as we're coming to an end, where are you now with all this? What are
Yeah.
you here to give after all of this has happened? I know you've shared part of this, but let's say, what are you here to give, or what have you now learned or believed at the end of all this?
I mean, a lot of things. I've just learned that it is you get simply you get what you think about. I mean, it is that, but it is a lot deeper than that. So this is my message. If you were going to listen to anything else, this is what I've learned through 13 years of practicing. The first half of my life was finding like the literature and becoming like logically educated about energy, about law of attraction, about my body. Like your body is a computer. You know, look, Joe Dispenza is who I found. You know, Joe Dispenza is a guy who broke his back, and he laid there and literally visualized, because he's a scientist, so he knows the neural path. So he really bridged science with spirituality. And all I've been doing is following his meditations, because the problem is, like I said, we don't unplug. So as humans, what do? We go to bed, we wake up, the first thing we do, we check our phone, we look at Facebook, which triggers memory. We see someone or see something, we think about our problems. Anything we think about triggers a memory, which triggers an emotion. And so you have not even opened your eyes for a minute. You are already living in your past. You are just regurgitating your past every minute. So all I changed was, do not look at my phone before I get out of bed. And sometimes I do it and sometimes I don't. I'm a human. I still get mad. Stuff is awful. I don't have any money. I don't have a business really. You know, things are terrible. But before I get out of bed, I do those meditations. And I basically, this year, Patty, was an experiment in, if you can emotionally feel whatever you want, if you can emotionally feel it before you have it, you will have it so fast, you won't even need to think about it. And that is law of attraction. And my issue was, the first 10 years, I had the logic, but I couldn't feel because I was so destroyed in my body. Now I cleared the channel. Now I can feel. And all I did was marry logic with my heart. So it's called being heart coherent. Again, go to Joe Dispenza. And so I lined up my brain with my heart, and it like went like this and got coherent. And basically, like, I am a capsule that's clear. And I get up, I do those meditations, and I just pretend to have the life I want. That's what this year was about. This year was, you don't have anything else to do. Your life sucks. Buy into this principle. And so I went full force, and all I have been doing is pretending and emotionally feeling like I have everything I want, even when it's not there. So I'm driving my 2000 beater station wagon, looking like a crazy person, and I'm like, I'm a size 4. I am healthier than I've ever been. I have this convertible. I have this. I have a blog. I might be a life coach. I want to model. I don't know why. I just pretend and feel those things. And it started out as a joke, but now it has turned into, this is what I'm here to teach. And I don't know what form that's going to take. And the beauty of it is, when you heal and you get into the zone, you don't have to chase anything. These opportunities are finding me. I don't have to effort about any of it. And that's the beauty. And if I could teach one person to have one, it only takes one moment. When you get one sign and feel it, it's over. That's what I want to teach. And as women, man, we've been so beat up just as women. I mean, we take on everything. And I want to teach women to feel beautiful again. And because I know what it feels like to feel awful about yourself and feel fat and feel not good enough and hate your stomach and have stretch marks. A year ago, I couldn't even bend my knees. Try to dance for 12 years without bending your knees. I just did it. I was in pain that whole time. People have no idea the pain I was in. Mm-hmm. And then, you know what I mean? People have no idea. Yeah. So I want to teach. I've been those places. And so, Patty, I get frustrated now because people want to call me and talk about weight loss. I don't want to talk about weight. I will, but guys, I have not worked out one time. I've not worked out one time. I eat what I want. I'm joyous about what I eat. I've stopped punishing myself. That's all I've done. And if you would do that, you would weep at the speed that your life would change. If you would just hold on it's always the point right when you want to give up that is always the breakthrough. And honestly, that's all I've done is find this funny, crazy example, buy into it because there was nothing else to do. And now I've created this beautiful life that's not perfect. I have $400 in my business bank account right now. Life is not great, but guess what? I have unwavering faith that it doesn't matter because the next thing is right around the corner. And even when it's terrible, I'm laughing because I'm like, Robert, show me the magic, you know? And honestly, and this is my last thing because I don't even know about where we are with time, but this principle that I bought into is the great way is not difficult for he who has no preferences. And that really hit me, right? And I thought, oh my gosh, that's so true. Like, okay. And so this year, an awful thing would happen, terrible, awful thing. And I'd go, maybe it's awful, maybe it's not. And every time I said, maybe it's not, a bigger thing shows up and it's all your brain. You don't have to explain to anybody what you're doing. I think the other piece of advice I could give is don't talk about what you're doing. Get results. You didn't see me blasting out, I'm meditating, I want to change, I'm so sad, I'm this, I'm this. Stop doing that because all you're doing is reaffirming what you don't have. All those Facebook posts about, I want to change this, I want to change that, all you're doing is telling your brain you don't have what you want yet. And because you can't get into your body, the inside of your body believes whatever you're telling it. That's the premise. Your brain believes whatever you're feeding it. So seriously, if you're saying, I don't have this, I don't have it, it believes it. So all you got to do is change that and be crazy and be silly. What do you have to lose? See what will happen. Why not? Why?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's beautifully said, and trusting that, and pretending as if, and instead of the mind always. I mean, I go through that constantly. I'm such a a grounded, real, earthy. Show me the proof. I tend to
I am
go.
too. Yeah.
And even when stuff shows up, I joke. My boyfriend will notice that. I said, I think I just manifested something. Ha ha. Because I don't even want to say the word because I don't know if I really want to believe it. you know.
Patty, believe it. Believe it. And
Yes.
that's the other thing. You don't have to talk about it. Like the people around me, they are literally like, this is crazy. I mean, you haven't even talked. I go, I'm over talking. And the thing is, I'm not out here to prove anything to anybody. I just want to exist and live. There are beautiful things happening where I am, and healing is happening in the studio, and I just want to live like that. And I know now that when I'm in that zone, I'm just going to be pointed to wherever I am supposed to be. And instead of chasing these things to try to be inspired, man, when you heal, it sounds crazy, but you don't have to work for anything that you want. And if you don't believe me, that's okay. Look at my life in comparison to a year ago, and we're in a pandemic, and just wait what is going to happen. That's not bragging. I don't even know what's going to happen. I'm just excited to let it in. And anybody can do what I'm doing. It's not because I'm special. It's just because I took the time to try to do it, and I was open-minded enough to try.
Yep.
That's all it takes.
And let me tell you, it's okay to brag. If there's one thing I've been learning, is we get ashamed to try to dim the light. Let's not share that we're happy or bragging about something that's going on. I do that all the time. I want to diminish it, right? So brag away. You have every right. It's happiness. It's why not? We've all worked very hard to be in the place that we're at now, and we should all embrace all of our efforts, every single one of us, versus only finding, trying to not share that brightness and that light. So I think that's great, and I want to thank you so much for taking the time to share your vulnerability with us so willingly and open-heartedly and authentically. As imperfect as it is, it's okay, it's all good. The people that need to see the underlining message of it is from your heart, and that you went through a lot of stuff, and now you're here, and you just want to share that there is possibility to changing things around your fit, and we're using your physicalness. I mean, we are very visual, right? To notice the physical changes, and you just say, what the hell's going on with Lola? She went 100 pounds later, here you are. So we can't help but talk about the weight because that's the most obvious difference.
No. Yeah. Yeah. But here's the thing. I'm grateful for that because I need that as part of my story. If that weight was there for a reason. So it's not that I don't enjoy talking about it, but what I want to tell people is your weight will come off when you stop punishing yourself mentally. It's just a fact. That's it. When you stop punishing yourself, it will come off.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lola. I will, and everybody who came in to listen on the Zoom call, everybody on Facebook Live. I know I put his name. I hope I spelled it correct. Joe Dispenza, that you recommended that people kind of listen to and follow. And yes. Oh, Antoinette, you want to say something?
Am I? I don't know that I pushed something I shouldn't have.
You did.
Oh, I did.
That's okay. Hi, how are you?
You're back on mute, Tony. So now we can't hear you. You have to unmute if you want to say anything. We don't hear you, Tony. We do not hear you.
You do not pass go. You do not pass go.
Okay. So can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, first of all, for being brave and sharing, your story, because anybody that's gone through any kind of abuse, it stays in the body, So thank you for that. Thank you
for saying that. Thank you for the support, and thank you for showing up.
Yeah. Thank everybody for showing up. And on Facebook, thank you all. I love you very much, Lola. Again, continue that. We're going to keep watching and seeing how everything develops. I'm so looking forward to seeing the next evolution of your spirit and your soul. Love it. Love you.
Patty,
thank you all.
Patty, can I throw out my email really quick?
Yes.
So if I'm actually going to launch a website soon, lolalorraine.com, and a blog. And I think I'm going to do some life coaching, even though, hey, I'm not certified, but look what I just did. So if anybody has stories they want to share or struggles, or if you're just looking for a sign, I can't promise that I can answer everyone right away, but Lola Donahue at yahoo.com. This is until I get the website up. If anyone's sad, if anyone needs to reach out, please email. And if there's anything I can do for anybody, just reach out there.
Well, you heard it. Lola Donahue at yahoo.com if you want to reach out to her. Thank you again. And I look forward then to seeing your website and your blog. And, again, just share your story. The more people you can get on this journey, the better. We're all here to become better versions and heal ourselves, not like there's anything wrong with us, but heal ourselves, and come to a place where we like and love ourselves. Every day, that's the journey. And I love myself more and I like myself more. So thank you. And I hopefully people got a chance to see that within you and get inspired for themselves. Thank you. Mwah. Thank you.
Thanks, Patty.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. See you next week.